So today we're going to be going through, Microsoft 365 administration. So that's going to include going through the Microsoft 365 admin portal, some of the other main admin portals within your Microsoft 365 tenant. And also we're going to go through how to be able to create groups, create users, and how to delete them and why they are going to be useful when you are in your Microsoft 365 tenant. Stay tuned, I guess. Now, I know some of you are either going to be, Microsoft 365 engineers, Microsoft 365 admins, or you're trying to be one. So if you want to see more videos like this, where I do go into the tenant and I do show tutorials, I do show how to configure things, comment down below what you would like to see more of. Yeah, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. But yeah, let's get back into it. Okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about is portals. Now, the easiest way to actually start getting to know all the different portals and to be able to access them is to first go to office.com. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, if you can see here on the left, we've got this admin tab. So we can click that and that will take us to the Microsoft 365 portal. The other way you can do that is just by typing admin.microsoft.com and that will take you straight to the same portal. So this is your dashboard for your tenant, and to be able to access all the different portals, you have to go to the left of the tab and click show all, and that will let you see all your different portals. So as you can see here, all your different admin centers, or at least your main admin centers. So you go on for security, compliance, Microsoft Intune, which is device management, identity, Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams. And then when you click on here, on all admin centers, it gives you all of the other ones that you can go to. For example, like the Power Apps one. And then to be able to access one of these admin centers, you just basically click on one of them. So I'm just going to click on the identity tab, and that should take me basically to Entra ID, also formerly known as Azure AD. A nice free resource to be able to find out different portals within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem is just msportals.io. And once you come here, you're able to see all the different types of portals, as you can see here. So for example, I could even search and type in Purview, and it should give me the portal for Purview. So if I click that, we've got the Purview portal. I mean, now that we're here, I might as well explain some of the main portals. So with Purview, it's used to be able to configure and manage all of the compliance when it comes to your Microsoft 365 tenant. So you've got stuff here mainly to do with information protection. You've got stuff like data loss prevention, which stops data from being leaked. Then you've also got insider risk management, which deals with the risks of users within the tenant doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. So all of that is housed here. If I then go back to all the different admin centers, if we go to security, now very simply, this is to do with your security. So normally this would be called, as you can see here, the Microsoft Defender portal. This houses all the stuff to do with security. So as you can see here, we've got exposure management, investigation and response, threat intelligence, Microsoft Sentinel. You've got stuff like being able to safeguard identities, as well as endpoints. And then particularly they also have protection around collaboration and email as well as cloud apps. So this houses all of the stuff to do with security, or Microsoft security. Next, we've got device management with Microsoft Intune. Now with Intune, as it says here in the front, it helps, securely manage your devices and be able to secure the apps and data that you do use on these devices, whether it's a phone or whether it's a laptop, a PC, and there's different ways that you can configure those devices to be used with your work data. So we have this thing called BYOD, which is bring your own device, where you are able to use your personal device for work. And then there's setups within Intune where you can only allow for work provided devices. and no devices that are personal. All of that is done in the Intune Admin Center. Next, we've got the Identity Center, or as we know it, Entra ID, and this houses everything to do with identities. So think about users, think about groups, think about devices as well, and the protections around all of those. That's where all of this is housed. Also to do with access, so there are particular protections like conditional access, identity protection, authentication methods, to do with MFA, SSPR, which is self-service, password resets. All of that is done through the Entra ID Admin Center. Now we've also got the Exchange Admin Center, which is to do with your emails, your mailboxes, your shared mailboxes, how the flow of emails are going through your tenant or going out of your tenant. All of that is actually done in here. Then we have SharePoint. Now SharePoint is where you would store your collaborative files. You can also do stuff like be able to create SharePoint lists and do a whole load of different things within here. You also can create intranet sites for a company to be able to have access to content and resources that are relevant to your company or important to your company, and be able to house news on there and loads of different other things. So that's where all of this happens, if that makes sense. And you've got a list of different sites that you can create or choose from and access, if that makes sense. And lastly, we've got the Teams Admin Center. Now I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Teams is, the platform for video calling and so much more than that. This is where you're able to configure how Teams works within an organization, within your Microsoft 365 tenant, when it comes to apps, and when it comes to devices, users, what they're able to see, what they're not able to see. That's all done through here. Now, as a Microsoft 365 admin, you may be thinking, where do I start? What are some of the things that I would need to learn or know how to do? What are some of the common tasks? One of them is being able to create users, and the other one is being able to create groups. So you're able to do that quite easily within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You can do that also within Entra ID, or you could also do that via PowerShell. But today I'm only going to go through how to do it in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So to add a user, as you can see here, we've got a button right here that says add user. But depending on the type of tenant and how it's been set up from the get-go, you may not have this particular pane. So what we would usually do is go to the left, as we can see here, click on this tab called users, and that should open up. And then we've got this list of different tabs. So one of them is active users, you've got contacts, guest users, and deleted users. What we want to select is active users. So we'll select that, and that should give us a list of different users, their usernames, and the licenses that they have. I'll get into licenses a little bit later once we're creating the user. So I'll just click add a user. And to start off with, we can just give them a name. So I'm just going to say test user to make my life easy. And then once you click on display name, after typing in the first name and the last name, it will autofill with the first name and last name. You can also decide to choose to change the display name. So let's say if I wanted it to be test, I could have that as well. But I'm just going to leave it as test user. Now, with the username, this is the account they're going to be using or to sign in basically. Normally, in terms of a professional organization or company, they would normally have some sort of combination of a first name, last name, maybe initials of one of them. What I've typically seen is an initial for the first name and then the last name, if that makes sense. So if we were to take this example, it would be T, then maybe .user, for example. And then here on the right, we've got different domains. So if you've got different domains within one tenant, you can select them from here. Of course, I only have the demo tenants domain with onmicrosoft.com. Then here you can choose to either automatically create a password, which Microsoft will do, or you can unselect this and type in a password yourself. The other thing that you can do also here is require the user to change their password when they first sign in. So let's actually create automatically the password and then require the user to change their password so you can actually see how that looks like. So I'm going to leave both of them ticked, click next. Then we've got select location. Now this can be very important for compliance reasons, as once we select a location for a user, all of their data will be housed in that location. So if your data is not supposed to be in particular locations, or the company wants it in a particular location, then you should select that location for the user. So in my case, I'm going to leave it as United States. Next, we have licenses. So as you can see, we've got a few different licenses, the Microsoft 365 E5, and then in brackets, no Teams. Not going to get into that. That's been a recent thing. We've also got the Microsoft Power Automate free, and then also the Microsoft Teams Enterprise. So with Microsoft licenses or product licenses, what they allow you to do is dictate what you can do or what the user can do within the Microsoft 365 tenant. So there are some that allows for that user to be able to actually set up their own personal device or a device to be used for work, if that makes sense. There's others that allow for them to be able to use the Microsoft 365 suite desktop apps. There's others that don't allow you to do that, but only allow you to use the online version. So it's very important to understand what these different licenses include and what they allow you to do. So of course, the only one that's available is going to be the Microsoft Power Automate. So I'm just going to click on that one, and then I'm going to click next. Now we've got some of our optional settings. So this is normally where you go through your different roles. Now roles are to do with what you are actually, what's the user actually supposed to be able to do as some sort of type of administrator. So for example, if I was to go here to admin center access, if I was to give this user global administrator, then pretty much they have access to almost do whatever they want within the Microsoft 365 tenant. It's almost like God mode on here. As you can see here from the eye, has unlimited access to all management features and most data in all admin centers. Now, if we've got the global reader, as you can see here, you don't have unlimited access, but you can view all of the administrative features and settings with all the admin centers. Then you've got stuff like, for example, the user administrator, which takes care of being able to create users, create groups, delete users, reset users' passwords, all of that type of stuff. So I'm just going to leave this as blank for now. Actually, no, do you know what? Let's give him the user administrator. So we'll give him that. And then under profile info, this is where you can fill out any other info that the user may have, if that makes sense. So their job title, stuff like department, their mobile phone, where they live, and that will be housed under their account. We're just going to choose to leave that blank and click next. Great. So we're at the finish line. We've got the user, as we can see here, their username. We've got their password, which is going to be auto-generated. We've got their location, we've got their license, and we've got their roles. Once we are happy with what we've done, then we can click next or finish adding. So now we've got our username, so right here, which is tuser@m365x whatever at the end, and then we've got our password. So what I'm going to do is just copy this, right? And what we're going to do is open it in private browser, and we're going to sign into this user. So we're going to start off with office.com and click sign in. Paste that in there. Next, we're going to go and get the password, and then we click next. We paste the password in, sign in, and of course we've got MFA to deal with, so I'll come back when I'm done with the MFA setup. Right, so I've already finished the MFA process. I've already put in the current password. Now remember when we were doing the creation of the user, where we ticked or left ticked to require the user when they first sign in to change their password? This is what now comes up for us to update our password. So I'm going to just type in a new password in here. I'm going to leave it short for now, just so that I remember. And then we just click sign in. Perfect. As well, then in private browser, I'm just going to click yes. Cool. So now we're in, as we can see from the bottom, test user. Now remember we gave him the user administrator role? Well, let's go test if he's able to even create users. So we can go to, again, the admin center, just click here on the left. Right, so now at the Microsoft 365 admin center, we're gonna click users, click active users. And as you can see, we are actually able to add users. Nothing is grayed out. So this is how roles work. It gives the ability for users to be able to do certain administrative tasks. So now we're gonna look into groups. So we're gonna go here, and then we've got a few different tabs. We're specifically gonna look at active teams and groups. Now there's different types of groups. We've got teams and Microsoft 365 groups. We've got distribution lists, and we've got security groups, and they all do different things. There's also a mail enabled security group, but as that is not here, I'm not going to go into that. Now, when it comes to deciding which groups that you're going to create, the main thing that you need to focus on or think about is, do you need collaboration or collaboration tools? Do you need to be able to send multiple different emails? Or do you need to be able to assign identities for permissions? Now, depending on which one that you want will depend on mainly the group that you would be using. So for example, if you want to be able to use the features of collaboration and collaboration tools, then the Microsoft 365 groups is the one that you're going to choose. And the reason why is because it comes with those tools. It also builds a SharePoint off the back of that, as well as a Teams channel. So anybody who's within this group will be able to have access to that Teams channel, and they'll be able to share messages, be able to share files, and be able to house them all within SharePoint. It's specifically designed for sharing resources. Then you've got your distribution list. And what this helps you do is be able to broadcast emails without all of those collaboration tools. So that's its main function, that's its main purpose. And then security groups are normally used for simplifying grouping users to be then used for permissions. So for example, assigning them to a particular SharePoint site. That would be an example of when we would use a security group. So what I'm going to create in this case, as is the simplest to create, would be the security group, just to show you how that looks like. So I'm just going to click security group. And we've got a few below. So we're just going to click add a security group. We'll give it a group name. So we're just going to do test group. And then you can have a description in there. I'm just going to call it SG test, SG for security group, and then click next. Now what you can do with groups is you can have role assignments. So anybody within that group will then get that assigned role. So that's how that works. I'm going to leave this blank and click next. Then I'm going to just click create group once we are done looking at the review. And then we're going to close that. Now what we're going to do is search for this group. So I'm just going to type in test and it should come up. There we go, perfect. Test group. And then what I can do here is manage the users, or we'll say identities, in terms of if they are in the group, if they're not in the group. And I can also assign group owners as well. I, for example, can add the new test user that we created. So I can just type in here test. We've got the test user, add. So now he's in that group. Now what we can do with this group is now, if I wanted to go to the SharePoint admin center, so if I click show all right here, go to the bottom, go to SharePoint. As the test user is a new user, most likely in a lot of these SharePoint sites, that test user will not have access. So for example, if I select design right here, so this design site, and look at the membership, as we can see, we've got a few people that have access. And as we can see, we don't have the test. the test user in there. So what we're going to do is go back to general, and we're going to copy the site address, copy link, and we're going to give that to the test user to see if he's able to access it. Of course, we know he's not going to be able to access it, but just to show you what it would look like. So there we go. You need permission to access this site. Now, rather than him being able to request access, what we can then do is, like we've just done, add into the security group and then assign that security group to the SharePoint site. So if we go back, go to membership, go to site members, and we just search for the test group. I could also just add him as a user, but we're going to add the test group. Click add, and then we're going to copy that link again. Sometimes this may take some time, maybe a few minutes, a minute or two, but we're just going to close this, add a new tab, paste that in there, enter, and now he has access to the design site. So that's how you're able to use security groups to assign a bulk of users, a bulk of identities to then assign in a particular place. Okay, so now let's say, oh, do you know what? I don't want that group anymore. How do we delete it? Same with the user. So this is how we would be able to do it. You go to the left tab right here, teams and groups, go to active teams and groups, search for that group. So we'll just type in here, test, have it selected. And as you can see here, there's a few more tabs that have come up, and then we can click delete group. So do we want to delete? Yes, perfect. And you can do the same with the test user. So I can just go to active users, search for the test user, perfect, then select. And as we can see here, we've got delete user. You can also go into the user itself once it loads, and then you've got your delete user right here as well. So if I click delete user, I can do that. It will let you know that once you delete this user, that the license that you've assigned to them will then be unassigned and available for others to use. Then you've also got a notification to let you know about the email and OneDrive to be able to give another user access to the user's OneDrive. That's pretty much a kind of a normal thing, depending on if you're, let's say, within the same team in a company. Let's say the marketing team, someone leaves, but they're still dealing with particular things. You can give another user access to the leaving employee's email and OneDrive to then carry on with their work. Okay, so now we'll click delete user. Okay, so that's all done. So we'll click close. And that's how you delete a group and delete a user. Well, that's it for now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You've learned a thing or two. If you want more videos like this, please comment down in below, and I'll be doing a lot more Microsoft 365 administration videos so that you guys can learn. Don't forget to share and like the video and subscribe to my channel. And for those who do want to be able to follow along, I've already got a video out showing you how to create a demo tenant if you do work for a company that's a Microsoft partner. If you are unfortunately not in that case, then you can also get the Microsoft 365 Business Premium trial for 30 days and follow along with these administration videos. Anyways, catch you in the next video.